camera's still handheld. I apologise. Still using my mobile phone for recording my videos at the moment. And anyway, this is going to be kind of an old style booze and talk video. I've got here some Bailey's iced coffee. I'm sorry it's backwards on the video. I can't figure out how to flip it on the phone when I'm using it in portrait mode, selfie mode. Anyway, this is, I don't know if you can see, 4% vol. It's I love Bailey's. It's probably one of my favourite alcoholic drinks, and coffee as well. It says a unique blend of Arabica and Robusta coffee with milk, fine spirits, and a signature flavour of Bailey's. Shake me. Alright, I will. And I thought I talk about horror movies, specifically horror movies on Netflix, because it's something I've been discussing with a friend recently online. He gave me a load of good recommendations, and also I've just been watching them as well. Let's have a go with this. Oh shit, it's gone everywhere. I didn't even get it on the camera, sorry. Me opening it. I'm gonna pour it into this. And it's frothy on the top because I've shook it up. Okay. Doesn't look that appetizing in a wine glass, does it? It looks like someone's taken a liquid shit right in the glass. Anyway, let's have a try. It tastes like neither of Bailey's or coffee somehow. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, so yeah, horror films. I used to be a massive horror film watcher, horror film fan. I used to collect horror DVDs, and I don't know what happened. Maybe I got a bit washed out on them. I think now I'm thinking back on it, like my main problem was that I saw so many horror films that maybe I saw so many average horror films that I got sick of them. They got so formulaic. There was a certain period of time where every single horror film that came out was it just looked like the same as the last one, and it just kind of, I don't know, maybe I just got a bit bored of them in the end, but like, I don't know what it is. It's always like a group of teenagers. They end up going somewhere. They end up getting killed. One of them ends up fighting the whatever killer or the monster or something, and then they get away. And I don't mind a formulaic film if it's done well, if it's good, if it's got some good gore. But it wasn't even, most of the time when I saw them, they weren't even that good. So I've recently got back into watching horror films, and I've been looking for ones that are like a little bit different, and asking my friend Matt, who's a big horror fan, he knows his stuff, for some recommendations, and he gave me a few. And like I say, I just found some myself, just flicking through them, like reading the descriptions on Netflix. I've got it on there on horror now. Just going through, flicking through, and finding things that sounded interesting. And I thought I would go through a list of ones that I've seen recently which I would recommend. I'll give you a little rundown of what I thought of them. So the first was a film called Witch, and it's spelt, the W in Witch is spelt with two V's next to each other. It's like Vitch almost, it looks like when you see it, but I think if you search for it on Netflix, you just search for Witch, and it's like really faithful recreation of like the speech and the dress and the lifestyle of people, and I think that it's from the time of like settlers in America. I think, you know what, actually I'll admit something here. When I start watching horror films, half the time I'm on my computer because and I get distracted at the beginning, and then if they're any good I start paying attention, but it's usually about 10 minutes in, so I always missed like the beginning. I'm pretty bad at that really, but I've sat through so many mediocre films in the past that now it's got to be something good to actually distract me away from it. So I think that's where it's set. It's like settlers in America, that sort of time period, and it's I assume, but they're like really sort of like super religious, really like paranoid. And there was a bit at the beginning, I can't even remember, where a guy is like he's getting ousted from his village or something. But anyway, there's a family who live in this like isolated farm, and the children start acting strangely, and they start to suspect that one of them might be a witch or possessed, and it's just it's something about the way like there's nothing really happening for a lot of the film. It's a lot of it is you thinking, is it just in their heads? Because it's like you can hear like the little kids are like sort of running around and sort of saying this rhyme about they've got like a black goat. I think they call it Black Pete or something, and they like run around singing like a rhyme about it all the time, and it's like you think, well, they're taking that as a sign of the devil or something, but you're thinking, well, that's not really. But sorry, this isn't a very good review. I think you should just go and watch this film. I don't think I can do very much justice actually talking about it. But anyway, it's really sort of unlike a normal horror film. There's not much in it that's actually horrific. It's just kind of like this kind of isolated, super religious farmhouse family, and they're taking like the odd words that someone might use, or someone might say something as a joke, and then they'll sort of take it as if something weird's going on, and it just keeps getting stranger and stranger and stranger. So you think, well, actually, what something actually might be going on, and then like other things happen, and I don't want to spoil the rest of the film, but yeah, I can't do a very good review of that film, but it's decent. One I watched last night, so I'll actually be able to remember a bit of this because this actually might be fresh in my mind. Was Triangle, which my friend Matt recommended this to me, and I started watching it, and I just thought it was crap at first. Kind of like it's kind of like a group of young people. They go off on a yacht. It kind of seemed a bit, like I say, formulaic. They end up, their yacht crashes, and they end up sort of capsized, and a ship emerges out of the sea, and they climb aboard, and the ship's empty, so it seems. And the ship was like really bad CGI and stuff, and I just thought, why has he recommended this to me? But I don't know how I can explain the plot without spoiling it. Really, it turns out there's a really interesting twist which comes about right near the beginning of the film, and the rest of the film is this sort of continuation of this mad twist. And it just keeps getting crazier and crazier, and there's all these like really like shocking moments, like all centre around this twist of what's happening. It's one of them things where at the end of it I started to think about the logic of the film, and some bits didn't make sense to me, and I think a lot of the time you've got to just not think too much about the rules of the film and how it works, because it's got a certain sort of set of rules that the characters have to sort of live by, and yeah, towards the end, by the end of the film, I think, well, that doesn't quite make sense because this happened and then this happened, but it's so crazy, it just twists and turns, and definitely recommend it. It's one of them films where it seems really generic and not very good at the beginning, and it gets a lot better as it goes on. This doesn't taste right. I love Baileys, love coffee. Like I say, it doesn't really tastes a little bit like just like a bit of instant coffee maybe, but not strong instant coffee, just like watery. It doesn't have a Baileys taste, it just tastes sweet. I won't be buying this again. Iced coffee latte. Green Inferno, the next one I wanted to talk about. I think this is by the same guy who did the Hostel movies. I'm not actually sure, I might have to look that up. But it's it's one of them films. I can't say it's a good film. Like I can't say like I recommend it like as if it's a good movie, because it's quite shit in a lot of places. The acting is terrible. The plot is not great. It's got some really sort of what's the word, like off center comedy moments, like that sort of kind of ruin the atmosphere of the film. Um, what it is basically like it's like a cannibal holocaust sort of um, cannibal, lost in the jungle type of movie, but also kind of mixed with a sort of almost like a gross out teen comedy. Um, so you imagine like a fucking, I don't know, American Pie mixed with Cannibal Holocaust or something. Well, maybe not that far. The comedy's not that stupid. It's just kind of like it has moments, like really dumb moments in it. But interspersed with that is some really amazing gore effects, and the movie itself, I think, is worth watching just for the gore moments. And I also like the fact that it's a modern day cannibal movie, because you don't see a lot of them. And the premise of the movie is good as well. It's about a bunch of like university or college campus activists who go off into the jungle to try and stop a pipeline being built or something. I can't remember, but yeah, I like the premise of that. These sort of busybody activists sort of blindly following a cause and then getting into trouble because of it, and it's a good premise, good like modern day take on the cannibal genre. But I can't say it's a good film. Like I say, the acting is bad, and the humour elements are just really, really didn't hit the mark for me. I kind of wish they'd take all the humour bits out and just have like the gore and like have it as a gritty horror film. I think it would have been a lot better. But I still say check it out if you're looking for something to watch. Next one is The Autopsy of Jane Doe. This was another recommendation from Matt. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was amazing. I thought the first like half was good. Father and son who run a mortuary or a morgue, and they do autopsies for the police to identify the cause of death. A body gets brought in, and they start dissecting it, and things get stranger and stranger with the body. Like they keep finding stranger and stranger things, like they cut open the stomach and there's like a cloth in there wrapped up, and there's like a message written on the cloth, and just the things they find on the body just start to creep them out more and more, and they're just like, oh, this is really odd, and what the hell's going on? And then things start to happen around them, and I really liked that bit as it was kind of building up. But I felt like too early on in the movie it kind of showed its hand almost, like I think the bit where it got to about halfway through the movie, that should have been left for like the very end of the movie, if that makes sense. I like the bit where it was like building up towards this creepy sort of thing happening, and it was like a big sort of paranormal event, and that kind of happens a bit too early on. Like it should have just been them dissecting this body, a weird sort of really small creepy sort of strange things happening. They're getting more and more paranoid as they're going along. I really like that bit of it, and it's a good movie. But like I say, I think, as I said to my friend, I think it shot its load too early, that film. But still good. What else did I watch? Creep. Now, I didn't watch this for ages because I saw it on the list and I thought it was that film. There's a film called Creep where it's set in like a London underground. I saw it years ago and didn't really think much of it. But this is another film called Creep, and the sequel, which I've also watched. And it's got this guy in it. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's in loads of things and he never plays like a bad guy. Hold on. I don't know what the actor's name is, but he plays like the antagonist in that, the and it's a found footage movie as well, which I've got a kind of soft spot for. But a guy gets gets the job to go and film someone for a day. It's like $1,000 for a day's filming. Just come and film me, and he gets there, and it's like the guy who's there to film is like, yeah, I've got cancer, and I want you to just film like a message for my kid, and he just acts really odd through the film. He just gets weird. He just gets stranger and stranger in his behavior, but it's never really like evil or malicious or anything. It's just weird. Like he'll start like describing weird like sex acts he's been involved in, or just like acting like odd, but not like stereotypical, like when you're someone told to act crazy in a movie. It's just kind of something sinister about the way he's acting, and it kind of just, as the movie goes on, you kind of thinking, this guy's weird, there's just something on, like, I'd get out of there. And like it just builds and builds of him just acting strange, but never to a point where you think, right, he's mental, you have to leave now. Most of the film you're thinking, well, he could just be normal, and he's kind of, maybe I'm imagining it. Really good anyway. I enjoyed that, and I like the ending of that. Creep 2, I liked the premise of it. It's this a girl who's got a YouTube channel, and she's got her own show on YouTube where she goes and meets weird people and films it. And she goes to meet this guy as part of her YouTube thing, and she's like vlogging. And I really liked that character. Like, she was really good. She was like really like, she had a really good like fearless. But it was like a front that she put on for him. It was like fearless, and it really set the guy off guard. But it kind of made the film a bit less creepy, because like the creep guy was like because he was set off guard. He kind of seemed a bit more like vulnerable than he did in the first one, and it kind of made him a little bit less menacing. But it's still good, but not as good as the first, I thought. Just because of that element, it wasn't as creepy. He wasn't as scary a character. I like the very last minute of the film where it's set in like a different place. It's like set slightly in the future, and there's like a little bit of there's a moment. It's like the last shot of the movie where she looks up, and you see like a look in her eyes, and it's just like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it really, like, that was a really good moment in the movie. The very end of it. God, this video's gonna go on for too long. Oh yeah, Annihilation. That was a good film. Maybe more of a sci-fi film than a horror film. If you like J.G. Ballard, I recommend this. It had a very sort of Ballardian feel to it. There's like I don't know, it was like a jungle where this sort of haze, like a shimmer, has sort of settled over it, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and they're sending in scientists into this shimmer to see what happens, but none of them ever come out. And it's about this team of scientists who go in, and kind of what happens to them while they're in there. And it's sinister and strange, but in a sort of very beautiful way. Like what happens with the shimmer is it's kind of changing the DNA of everything around it. So it's kind of in this forest, and then there's like, once they enter the shimmer, the forest, like all the trees are like covered in these like beautiful flowers, like everywhere. Like, it's really like different coloured flowers, different types of flowers growing up every tree. There's weird like animals that look kind of like hybrids of other animals. There's like animals running around where there's like two of them next to each other, like clones, but they're moving in exactly the same way. They just keep seeing like strange, like, because one of them's like a biologist as well, and she's like, this is just like I don't understand. Like this doesn't make any sense. And it's like mold as well. There's like kind of mold growing on like the walls and things. There's a bit which I don't think I'm spoiling it by saying it, because it's like on the image of the like on Netflix, and there's like a body that's been taken over by this shimmer, and it's like been transformed into like half a plant. It's like growing up a wall, and it's like mold has spread up a wall, but then there's like a skull coming out of it. But it looks really like spectacular, and like really like a not like a painting or something, because of like all the colours. Like everything's really colourful. It's like a horror film, but everything's beautiful and colourful at the same time. I really like the way they got that atmosphere in the film. Like instead of relying on it being really drab and dark and sort of in that way to build up atmosphere, they just kind of made this really alien landscape. The ending of the film, once they get to the lighthouse, kind of started to go a bit downhill. Kind of, I don't know. I didn't like it as much. Got a bit too arty, I think. Maybe a bit too interpretive dance almost. But definitely a good film to watch. I recommend that. If you're a sci-fi fan as well, it's not necessarily just for horror fans, but if you like sci-fi, I recommend Annihilation. And then there's a few others which I've seen already, and ones that I made my wife watch, like It Follows and Cabin in the Woods. I think a lot of people will know about them films already. And Babadook, that's a good film that's on there, but I don't think I really need to describe it much. So oh, and The Babysitter, which is a Netflix thing, pretty good. I think some bits it was trying too hard to be like a bit of a like a Kick-Ass, or like a Scott Pilgrim type of, this kind of meta humor type of thing. Very self-aware, but still at its moments worth watching. So anyway, I'll go through the list again. Here's some good horror recommendations: Witch, Triangle, Green Inferno, Autopsy of Jane Doe, Creep and Creep 2, Annihilation, It Follows, Babadook, Babysitter, and Cabin in the Woods. There's probably some others on there I've forgotten, but those are the ones that I came up with off the top of my head. So I'm going to find something else to watch tonight. If you've got any recommendations yourself, then please leave them in the comments. I'll try and watch them if I can. If they're on, like I know some in America, they've got different things on the Netflix to what we've got in the UK. So I can't watch all of them that are on in the American ones, but. And my review of this Bailey's Iced Coffee is fucking god awful, absolutely awful. Like, I don't know how they got this wrong. Bailey's and coffee, what a perfect combination. I don't know how you mess it up, but they've managed to. And I will never be buying this again. And my view of the Bailey's brand itself has gone down slightly because of it. Ooh. Alright, thanks for watching. See you later.